Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering the Real Madrid Bayern Munich instant classic. Real Madrid moving on to the Champions League final. Then we'll be talking about the the Copa America squad. Should Casemiro still be in it? We'll be talking about the controversy around the Real Madrid Bayern Munich game, some referee decisions that were very questionable, and then we'll be talking about Thomas Tuchel. He's now eliminated from Bayern, so opens up an opportunity for us to talk about his potential move to Manchester United, which is rumored, and whether or not that's a good move. And make sure you stick around for later in the show, where I'll be giving you my Euro 2024 top 5 power rankings. Before we start off, I would like to ask that you like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your questions get read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link to make sure your questions are on at gsmcpodcast.net with your questions. This puts your questions at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also really helps the show. So again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. I mean, we have to start talking about the Real Madrid Bayern Munich game. When it comes to football, that's the biggest storyline of today. I mean, what a comeback by Real Madrid. The manner that they do it, I'm telling you, this is footballing heritage. This is footballing heritage. This is footballing culture. Their ability to come back in these sort of situations is absolutely amazing. And it seems like they're never out of a game. Even in the situation that they're in, it seems like they're never out of a game. Never. And that's just it. They're never out of it. It's unbelievable the way that they're the grit that they have, the determination that they have, the spirit that they play with, the belief that they have, even when it's times that they're down 1-0 late in the game. I mean, the ability that they have and the calmness that they have, the composure that they have, it's just culture, it's just tradition. And that's kind of what it comes down to. In all of sporting tournaments, in my opinion, any sporting tournament, not just soccer, just in general, history and culture never matter more than in the Champions League. Even if you've been having a rough season, even if you're struggling, if you have that sort of culture, and if you're not good as good as the other team, not saying Real Madrid is not as good as Bayern, they are, but I'm just saying, like, for example, Napoli and AC Milan last year. You know, Napoli clearly better than AC Milan, but AC Milan has the culture, the history, the tradition, and they move on ahead of Napoli. So for me, it's an unbelievable accomplishment for Real Madrid, who are now in their quest to win the 15th Champions League, which is a great feat for them. As far as Bayern Munich, when it comes to this game, so the first leg finished 2-2, and I talked clearly about the opportunities I thought that was lost for Bayern, the way that they allowed Real Madrid back into the tie with Kim Min-jae's issues. So I made my thoughts abundantly clear on that. But regarding this game, you know, I did think Real Madrid overall throughout the 90 minutes were the better team. They were the one sustaining a lot more pressure against the back line. Bayern, they had a few opportunities on the counter, but Real Madrid, especially at the beginning for a 15-20 minute period to start off the second half, right before Alphonso Davies was able to break it was just Vinicius Jr. And every time he got on the ball, it just seemed like, uh-oh. And if you look at the stats, 19 shots to 8, 7 shots on target to 5, 58% possession to 42% possession. Now, yes, this is a miraculous comeback for Real Madrid, the way that they scored the 2 goals at the end. But it's not similar to the Man City Real Madrid game, because in the Man City Real Madrid game, that second leg, I'm talking going not last year, but 2 years on, where that second leg in Madrid, where they were up 1-0 due to Mahrez, and they allowed Bayern to come back. They allowed Real Madrid to come back. Man City were clearly the most dominant team. Real Madrid couldn't get a leg in for the first 176 minutes, 177 out of the 180. The first 177 minutes of the game, the tie, they couldn't get anything going. But in those last 2-3 minutes, they turned it on just like that, and they came back and they took it to extra time. It wasn't like that this go around. Real Madrid had plenty of their chances. Real Madrid were better, but they got hit on the counter. Alphonso Davies cutting on his weak foot. Rudiger doesn't get tight enough. An amazing shot, and when Bayern scored that goal, wow, the relief that went on, that should go on the Bayern players in the not relief. Okay, now everything becomes tense because you're only defending a 1-goal lead, but the emotion, celebrate, looking at the Bayern sideline, looking at Thomas Tuchel going like this, it was just like, it was beautiful to watch. It was very exciting in the moment, like, wow, are Bayern really gonna pull this off in the Bernabeu? And then minutes go by, 75 minutes, and then Thomas Tuchel decides to start putting in center backs. Like, he brought on Kim Min-jae and took off, I believe he took out a midfield player, an attacking player. It definitely made a defensive substitution. And they were they brought in, and that forced Alphonso Davies to kind of drop back into the left wing back role. And they were kind of playing like 6 at the back. It was very steep. They were soaking in. They were observing pressure. They brought in Choupo-Moting. I think they brought in Choupo-Moting in later on, but when they brought in Choupo-Moting for Kane, it was a like for like, and Kane was a good outlet in those situations when you're suffering. You take him out because you want to go with a little bit more energy, I guess, in pressing, I guess. But whenever you make those sort of substitutions, you're telling yourself like, yeah, we're just holding off. We don't want this, like, we just last 10 minutes, last 15 minutes, let's just get this out. Let's get out of here. That's the kind of mentality Thomas Tuchel had. He wanted to just seal the game right there instead of taking a more cautious approach. What if they do? What if Real Madrid are able to find the breakthrough? Then what do we do? What do we do in extra time? Or in that case, they conceded a second goal. How are we gonna get back into it? They just had nothing going for themselves. It was kind of like Thomas Tuchel put all his cards in the basket. Yeah, let's just pull out this 1-0. And, some people are criticizing that move because against Real Madrid, that's the wrong thing to do. Real Madrid they've shown that they can always come back in these situations. This is what this team been like in recent history. So that's been the most major criticism by Thomas Tuchel. Then there's people defending him, which, I can see this side too. Well, the individual mistakes made is not Thomas Tuchel's fault at the end of the day. Letting Vinicius play in that shot, not being tight on Vinicius to allow him to play in that ball. Manuel Neuer, one of the best goalkeepers in the history, making a mistake he's never made in his career that I remember. There was individual mistakes from Bayern. They could have sealed it off. Was Thomas Muller? He missed the ball in behind. I believe he missed Konrad Leimer, who then couldn't hit Pavlovic in, and it all because Thomas Muller missed the ball. That could have been 2-0 immediately after Real Madrid respond. So for me, as much as Thomas Tuchel may deserve, some criticism for that, at the end of the day, some individual mistakes did let him down. That goalkeeper mistake, that's a big mistake. That's not Thomas Tuchel's fault. I do have to say, whenever Real Madrid were able to get that breakthrough through Joselu off that Manuel Neuer mistake, I was sitting next to three of my friends, and one was a Madrid fan, the other was a Bayern fan. The Madrid fan is going crazy. The Bayern fan is like distressed, and I look into their direction. And I'm like, they're all like, one is celebrating, one is in distress, the other one is just reacting. And I'm just like, this game is not going to extra time. and I knew Real Madrid were gonna pull it out, and many people knew. Like this just hit. It's just Real Madrid. I knew that someone was gonna find that second goal. It took Joselu to initially it was called offsides, but they didn't call it off. They allowed it to play. Then after they called it, that's the right way to approach it. We'll address the controversy later on to the show. Don't worry about that. We will address it. They did the right thing. They reviewed it. He was on. Rudiger was on. I believe it was Pavlovic keeping him on, and then so goal for Real Madrid, and then from there on, just Bayern. It took them until the first 7-8 minutes of stoppage time. They couldn't get anything going because Kane is on the bench. They have no real outlet. They got guys like Choupo-Moting in. They have extra defenders in. And my thing is, why didn't Tuchel send the center backs forward? You don't have real strikers in. You're not gonna swing crosses into Choupo-Moting and stuff. So swing in. Send Kim Min-jae and Matthias de Ligt up in the box and playing long balls. The one time they did it, it led almost to a goal. Whether or not it should have been a goal, we'll discuss that later with the offsides and all that. But why didn't they do that from the beginning, from right away, right as soon as they conceded that second goal? I guess, they're kind of shell-shocked and all that. But, yeah. And then, regarding Thomas Tuchel, though, the one thing you might criticize him for is there was a 10-15 minute period. Every time Vinicius got the ball and he was going up against Kimmich on the left-hand side, it was absolutely a mismatch. And I feel like he could have done more to adjust. Obviously, in that moment, it didn't lead to a goal, but he could have done more to help Kimmich in that situation, because every time Vinicius got on the ball, every time Real Madrid got on the ball, it was straight to Vinicius. It was tell Vinicius, get to work. But Real Madrid off to the Champions League final. It's amazing for Ancelotti. It's amazing for these players. They continue to build their legacy, and Real Madrid are doing what Real Madrid does on their quest to their 15th Champions League